I want you to imagine you're speaking with your doctor about a major health decision. You begin to ask questions about the different options, the likely outcomes of each, and the differences in cost. So you approach your doctor and they say, I've done over 150 of these procedures in the past year with a successful outcome in 60% of my patients. Every case is different, but that exceeds the national average by 15%. It's also going to cost you about $50,000 before insurance, but it might increase to $70,000 if certain complications occur. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd feel pretty comfortable and confident with their suggested approach. Isn't it amazing what integrating data and analytics can do to our decision-making process? As business leaders and almost MBA graduates, this is our language. We rely on data and technology to assess risks and make well-informed strategic decisions. I think most of us would agree that we should expect that same level of innovativeness and data savviness from other professional services. But there's one industry that's failed to capitalize on this movement. At $400 billion a year and growing 4.5% over the next decade, it impacts virtually every single company. They operate a business model that almost seems to reward inefficiencies. They're trained to be so risk averse that they can be intolerant to change. This behavior increases the cost of doing business for all of us. It might sound like I'm describing the DMV, but I'm actually talking about the legal industry. As each of you progress in your careers, at some point you're likely to interact with outside counsel or attorneys from a law firm. And when you do, I hope you're demanding, and I hope you expect them to show their track record of performance and to be precise in their justifications and recommendations. Unfortunately, I don't think the industry is there yet, but slowly and surely, that's something I hope to change. I'd like to introduce you to my wicked problem, which is to integrate data, analytics, and technologies into the legal industry. The scope of this problem is very broad. The legal industry is diverse. There are multiple types of practices, ranging from divorce attorneys all the way to litigators and M&A attorneys. Most of what I'll be talking about today relates to big law, which is a term that describes the largest international law firms who provide comprehensive corporate legal services. Any practice can benefit from analytics and technologies, but it must be tailored to fit their specific needs and the needs of their clients. Tackling this problem also requires us to understand how the unique personalities of lawyers and the economics and cost structure of law firms produce very little incentive to change. Now let's take a journey to reimagine how the legal industry can use data to provide better client service. It's important to begin with an understanding of the actual legal industry. Using a Porter's 5 forces analysis, we'll see that the two greatest forces are the customers, which are the clients, and competitive rivalry. As the data revolution has impacted nearly every industry and business out there, clients have started to take notice in the lack of change in the legal industry. A few years ago, 69% reported their outside counsel made no progress in innovation in the previous year. Clients willingly pay outrageously high rates for their counsel because of their experience and legal expertise, but they're starting to expect more. Changing economic conditions impact clients' desire for spend predictability, which drives the increased use of alternative fee arrangements such as fixed fees. Clients are also under increased pressure to manage budgets and reduce legal spend, so firms' unwillingness to use technology is considered inefficient and wasteful. Clients are also more often asking firms through RFPs and pitches about their use of data and technology. Most of all, clients expect results and value. There's no guarantees in the legal industry, but they're becoming more strategic in their decision making. These issues have actually become making substitutes more attractive, such as alternative legal service providers or ALSPs. These are tech-heavy firms that provide limited legal services at a fraction of the cost of big law firms. Attorneys are also impacted by client expectations and competitive rivalry. Though 84% of firms found technology increased efficiencies in their organization, many lawyers are still reluctant to make changes to their tried and true ways. Because of the intense competition in big law, lawyers must differentiate themselves to provide greater client service and grow their practice. I'm confident a stronger emphasis on using data and technology can help. Now, there are two key forces and factors we need to consider as we seek to influence change in the legal industry. First are the lawyer personality traits. There is a lawyer type, and they are very different from the average person. Lawyers are one or more standard deviations away from the norm in skepticism, autonomy, abstract reasoning, urgency, resilience, and sociability. In fact, no other single profession has even one trait where their average is over one standard deviation from the norm Now, what does that mean for my wicked problem? Well, it's an uphill battle. Solving this problem entails persuading and influencing a group of people who, based on these traits, aren't open-minded, aren't trusting, they hate planning, they demand immediate results, they're tough to build relationships with. High skepticism and abstract reasoning combined can lead to analysis paralysis, where they're always asking for more information to kick the can down the road to avoid change. As a non-lawyer, I have to understand these innate personalities when developing a solution and persuading them to take action. The second force we need to consider is the nature of the big law business model and cost structure. The billable hour is the primary method of legal billing, which is basically time and materials. There's a strict code of ethics, but the longer it takes to complete a task, the more they bill and the more revenue they generate. Law firms are highly leveraged since almost all costs are fixed. That means any reduction in output, which would be our attorney hours, beyond that break-even point will have a large negative impact on profit. The yearly profits per partner drives attorney recruitment and increases competition. Firms have little incentive to change since any tech efficiency can risk cannibalizing billable hours and reducing overall revenue and profit. In theory, attorneys would be able to fill that time with new billable work. In reality, there isn't always going to be work for them to do. There's a cost to pitching and winning new work, and as we approach an economic downturn, the overall amount of work is going to decrease as well. This is how the billable hour and the big law cost structure disincentivizes any efficiencies. These two forces and factors pose challenges to enacting change in the legal industry, both of which need to be addressed in any potential solution. The scope of this problem is significant, and it's challenging, if not impossible, to change an established industry overnight. With such a broad problem, there are countless opportunities to integrate data, technologies, and analytics into operations. And throughout the MBA program, I've explored a few options to make progress on this wicked problem. Now, these are all initiatives that any firm could take on internally for any number of areas of law. First could be the expanded use of APIs, which can integrate structured data between applications. This would mostly be applicable to external data, such as from Preqin, which provides private equity fund formation analytics, or Westlaw Edge, which has litigation statistics for different court systems. It's very helpful, but it's unlikely to wow any client who could also have access to that same data. Another option is to expand the use of cloud-hosted legal tech. Many firms, including my own, still use on-prem servers for third-party software due to the perceived security advantages. Cloud-hosted legal tech is less expensive, easier to integrate, requires less IT support, and actually allows other parties to access the data. We were recently embarrassed when one of our largest firm clients told us we were missing a big opportunity by using on-prem licenses for a trial collaboration tool. We need to move in this direction, but there are still barriers to adoption, and this alone is unlikely to bring about the industry-wide change in tech use that I'm looking for. Instead, I propose an internal matter data capture project. To my knowledge, firms aren't utilizing the trove of information that lives within their own walls about their own historical cases. Capturing and analyzing that data can provide tremendous value to attorneys and their clients. This would function kind of like a post-close survey where attorneys document matter attributes that impact fees and overall strategy. The goal of this project is to use data and analytics to present clients with higher quality strategic guidance and legal advice. I suggest narrowing the scope to focus on a tailored solution for one practice area, then demonstrate the results and turn that win into a case study to generate interest for other practices. Attorneys trust the opinion of other attorneys, and this is going to be the most effective way to build momentum. Firms should begin with employment litigation, which is an area of law that's highly competitive and becoming commoditized. Unlike other technologies, there's no risk in cannibalizing hours with this initiative. Of the three options, the Matter Data Capture project is going to have the largest impact on our clients and the most utility. It's a great starting point for any firm wishing to become more data focused in their practice. Now let's talk specifics of how we might execute on this idea. There are three key resources we need. First, attorneys or paralegals have nearly all of the actual data points and case knowledge we aim to capture. Their input's going to be critical. Second, we need IT or vendor support. This project requires some sort of post-close survey to input the data and a place to safely secure and access that data. Foundation and Smartsheet are two very popular programs whose capabilities can be repurposed for this project, otherwise something would need to be developed in-house. Third, business services support. Business development and legal project managers like myself would be the primary consumers of this data and would use an array of analytic skills and tools to help attorneys realize the value of collecting the data. Next, let's review the key activities required of this project. First, we need a complete list of metrics. The focus would be on obtaining data on key differences in general attributes. If we start with employment litigation, this might include the motions filed, the opposing counsel, the jurisdiction, the number of depositions and experts, and settlement outcomes. Most of these can be structured in a way that can be easily mined or searched for within a larger database. Next, we need to develop the database, surveys, and workflows, and this is where IT can help. This needs to be automated to be scalable. Since time is money in a law firm, simplicity is key. If it takes too long or is too complicated, we'll never gain the traction we want. We have to limit the questions to what's really important and simplify the inputs. This mini survey needs to become part of the natural closing process of a case. Next, we need to actually capture the data. I suggest a one-time historical data capture on exemplar matters to provide immediate benefits of this project. Then we can use the surveys and automated workflows to collect the same information on active matters. Then we need to analyze that same data. Business services professionals should present attorneys with insights they can use to provide greater value to new or existing clients. The final key activity is to share the win and scale. This is how we win over hesitant attorneys. Attorneys trust one another and they're not afraid to share what they find useful. Sharing the win within a firm is going to hopefully generate interest from other attorneys, which could spread that innovative mindset and creativity. There's an important element of change management here too. This process must be repeatable and part of a firm's culture in order to be sustainable. Now, to make this a little more realistic, let's consider a few types of strategic questions we could use this data to answer for our employment litigation clients. This would include, how many times have we faced this opposing counsel? What was their litigation strategy? How likely are we to prevail on a given motion? And how does that differ from historical averages? How much will it cost for each phase? How often have you successfully settled at mediation? Or how often have you seen these cases go to trial or settle on the eve of trial? You might not be familiar with all the legal jargon, but quantifying these answers can provide tremendous value for clients in developing a case strategy or assessing risk. The expected costs and outcomes can be very helpful in making settlement decisions. Past performance is no guarantee of future success, but it can definitely be a starting point. Business services professionals who are knowledgeable in this type of work can analyze the data, look for trends and insights, and present their findings in unique and compelling ways. We can also perform regression analysis to identify correlations. It's important to keep in mind that this data doesn't exist anywhere else. It's unique to each attorney and case and can really only be obtained by asking questions, consolidating responses, and analyzing the data. But by using internal historical knowledge, firms can provide clients the confidence they need to navigate uncertainty and mitigate risk to their companies. Finally, there are two ways to evaluate the success of this initiative. First is client feedback. This can be subjective, but a client's voice is a powerful indicator of success. If they appreciate the added insights, they'll continue to demand this type of analysis. Second is the number of new data projects and opportunities. As this project gains traction and we influence more and more attorneys, I hope it's a launch pad for new innovation ideas to integrate data, technology, and analytics. Once the IT framework and workflow is in place, it will be easy to tailor and scale this for other practice areas. My vision for the future of the legal industry is that they combine a data mindset, tech savviness, and strong business acumen with their legal expertise. What I've presented today is a starting point to show how firms can begin to be more data-minded by capturing, storing, and analyzing internal data to provide greater client service. It's scalable and it can directly address many of the challenges associated with initiating change in law firms. We're not cannibalizing billable hours, and we're using attorneys to share the story to help build momentum. More so than any other potential solution, which are still worthwhile projects, this will provide direct benefits to clients as they assess risk and make strategic decisions. I'm assuming most of you aren't associated with the legal industry, but as current or future consumers of legal services, I hope this inspires you to expect more. Choose firms and counsel that innovate, that know themselves, and can demonstrate and quantify their experience and expertise. You likely use data, technology, and analytics in all aspects of your business, so choose a firm that does the same. Thank you.